This groundbreaking report has been making waves through X currently as we are seeing a potential for $1 million Bitcoin by early 2027. And this is all because of a peer-reviewed report, which I think is being severely undermined here and undervalued because of what we're seeing here from a giant peer-reviewed report. And of course, the peer-reviewed, the academics, everybody has their doubters, right? But this is saying right here that we're seeing 1 million price target by early 2027. Now, this is a big, long report, peer-reviewed, as I've stated. Now, you might be asking, all right, Brandon, what the hell is a peer-reviewed paper and why do I need to care about it? Well, a peer-reviewed paper, as an academic myself, I have a couple pieces of paper that say I'm smart, at least allegedly. They go through a lot of different things. They have peers obviously review them. You have to publish them. And, they go through a lot of research process. Well, academics take these very seriously. And so to have it come out and say that there are $1 million price targets by early 2027, and if you look at this chart here, it looks like they're saying April 2027 for that $1 million mark going to happen. That means this is going to happen in less than 2 years. So this is a groundbreaking report put out by none other than the permabull himself. Breaking news, Satoshi Action Fund and Dennis Porter put this out. And so they've been working boots on the ground coverage for a lot of different aspects of Bitcoin and all of that. But I think the unique aspect of what Satoshi Action Fund does is they're working a lot in the political sphere. And so they're getting a lot of these people who are, in fact, talking about these things like Bitcoin strategic reserve, who's going to hold the most Bitcoin, and all of these different aspects. And the things that they're citing in this paper are mostly supply and demand. In fact, they bring up previous models and how all these other models were broken. In fact, they brought up the stock to flow model. They brought up all these different model developments. They brought up how there's different demand curves and everything else, the Bitcoin supply curve, and how the modeling and everything else is looking at it. See here, they brought up the power law model, macroeconomic models, stock to flow models, and cited essentially how all of these models have broken. But what they're looking at here is that they're looking at Bitcoin potentially looking at a supply shock, supply and demand strictly absolutely pumping here. And so they see these forecasts, and look, the forecasts look like Bitcoin can tail off here. But it looks like their base case is essentially tailing off just over 2 millibucks here, which I think is interesting. And the bull case, well, look, Bitcoin will be $5 million by April 2020 or 2030. It looks like a little bit over 2030, maybe 2031, early 2031, late 2030 for all of that. So it's interesting, these models that they're bringing out, because they're citing models that have already broken. And now these different aspects of what they know is the potential of Bitcoin needing to decouple. And I think that's what we're looking at here today. We're seeing everything that is pumping here. We're seeing Bitcoin versus the US stock market. Today was the first day where we saw the stock market absolutely pummel because of the tariffs. And now we're seeing Bitcoin pump. So is this the start that Satoshi Action Fund really was looking forward to, really looking to cite, and really looking to get over? Was they needed Bitcoin to decouple. But they were talking about why Bitcoin could hit 1 million in 2027. unlikely purely historical or statistical models that extrapolate Bitcoin's price fluctuation. They rely on well-established theory of market equilibrium, taking specific amount of Bitcoin's immutable 21 coin supply and observable patterns in how coins are permanently held or lost. So in describing their model, they've looked at the differences of stock to flow. They've looked at the differences of the power law, but that is based strictly on supply and demand. And that's the unique aspect of all of this, is that it's looking at just simple economic topics. And that's what I absolutely love about this model is, I'm not a huge model guy. I don't necessarily subscribe to the theory that Bitcoin will eventually get this model thing going. And I don't know what the hell is going on with my camera here. I tried to call my camera guys, but I got this crazy running light here going through. So I apologies to that, folks. But regardless, economics is really simple when you come down to it, right? I mean, they use a lot of big jargon, they use a lot of different words here. But at the end of the day, it's simple. It's supply and demand. That's what makes the world go around. Supply and demand. You could essentially look at almost everything and equate it to supply and demand. So I'm not sure why all these other models go and get crazy, but the supply and demand theory makes a lot of sense to me, and it can be calibrated and observed in the Bitcoin's price and performance is flexible enough to allow investors to experiment with a range of assumptions regarding price determination and model parameterization. They explicitly point out that Bitcoin's future is quite unlikely to resemble its past, hinting that the reliance on purely historical data can be misleading when institutions and nation states begin to accumulate on a scale never observed before. And I think that that is absolutely huge, right? I think that that is a huge deal here. So, um, my man Matthew Hines in the chat is telling me that my shutter is too high. All right, man, I got to figure out how to actually fix that because I appreciate that. I'll be better for the next live stream here, but I'm setting this all up here as I'm in Dallas for BitBlock Boom. And I saw this on Twitter today from the Bitcoin conference, but I realized that this pricing model, it was published early this year. In fact, it was looked at late last year. It was originally submitted late last year, and it was peer reviewed and actually published in January of this year. But I think it's unique because it looked at essentially all of the dates based on April. So we're coming to you live here from April 2024, where they have it, basically this model here, very, very low, not even close to that 1 million price target. They have it at the bottom, or April 25, excuse me. What am I saying? I'm absolutely losing my mind right now. I'm sorry. But this looks like this model assumes that Bitcoin in April 25 is significantly less than that 1 million price target. So what is it at 100,000? Maybe around there. But either way, it's looking at Bitcoin at a very low area. So what Bitcoin is priced at right now does not really affect their model here going forward. They're expecting massive price movements within the next 2 years. And I think that that is interesting because of the way that nation states and that are going to be scooping up Bitcoin. And of course, like I said, my man Dennis Porter, Satoshi Action Fund, they know what is going on with all of these nation states and, in fact, the United States, right? Satoshi Action Fund team met with over 20 congressional offices in 1 week. Pounding the pavement, it isn't easy. But hey, Dennis Porter, he's out there doing the thing. I don't know why they posted this blurry picture of the Capitol. Somebody's got to be a better cameraman than them. But maybe I don't have room to talk as my shutter is severely, off here. And that's what my man Matthew Hines was saying in the chat. But what we're looking at as Dennis Porter saying, you know, Bitcoin staying above 80,000 in this market is all the signal you need, because what are we seeing? We're seeing everything else pummel. Bitcoin was floating and even up 1% today. So we're sitting at 83,000, nearly 84K. And the one dude, so these peer-reviewed reports, as this guy is saying here, he's chirping me in the chat saying you lasted all about 5 seconds, but we're starting that hockey curve up, and I believe that all of these peer-reviewed reports, I think it's significant just because it's adding validity to what we are seeing in the Bitcoin space. So now, what do these peer reports do? They force academics to actually look at Bitcoin and, really take a serious eye on it. And the other thing is now that Bitcoin is going to be taught potentially in colleges, it's going to be researched all over the globe now, because in college, if you're not looking at Bitcoin, and other peers of yours are looking at Bitcoin, you're going to get left behind, right? So I think that all of this is essentially showing that we're on a wave where Bitcoin is now absolutely going to skyrocket, because everybody is going to be looking at what Bitcoin is doing. Academics, who have, all the time in the world, apparently, to be looking at all these different things. They publish 2 to 3 papers a year, or at least attempt to. PhDs, master students, they all have to do this, right? And now you have schools that are going to be teaching courses on Bitcoin and Bitcoin related tangents. I know that there's been a course on Bitcoin and blockchain being taught at the University of Texas. I'm here in Dallas right now. I know Texas A&M has some courses, and I will always say that Texas A&M is a million times better than the University of Texas, because I am an Aggie myself. So, all of these people are going to now have to start to look at Bitcoin and take it more seriously. And they're going to be looking at different aspects of Bitcoin, right? And I think, a few of the aspects that they should be looking at is, the differences with self-custody. I know a lot of people look at, how many Bitcoin are left on exchanges as a, aspect of what they are potentially, looking at price targets and other aspects of that. But I think self-custody is the way. I think self-custody is how you guys should be buying and storing your Bitcoin. And so that is why I'm going to help you do that today. Get your Lightning wallets ready, because we are going to give you some free sats from my friends over at the Bitcoin Well. So if you go to bitcoinwell.com/greencandle, you can sign up to the Bitcoin Well, where they're strictly non-custodial. So that means they force you to go into self-custody, which is absolutely outstanding. Now, every time you buy Bitcoin, they give you wishing well tokens. When they give you wishing well tokens, you have the chance to win over 1,000,000 sats. Yesterday, we gave away 2,100 sats. So let's see how many sats we're going to give away today. Boom, 210 sats. So you guys get your Lightning wallets out. Absolutely scan this as quickly as possible so you guys can get in and get out. And if you're looking for a new solution on how to store your Bitcoin, or even do it for the first time ever in cold storage, I've got it for you, folks. You go to bitbox.swiss /greencandle, and you'll get 5% off your entire order. They've got the Bitbox Swiss 2, easy to make. They've got the Bitcoin only edition, and then they've also got metal backup punch plates if you need it. So you could even just go and buy that if you'd like. Go and buy their punch plates so you're storing it on steel and it's not going to get eroded. I'm out here in Dallas. It's raining. They're saying it might hail. These steel punch plates can survive all of that, and they give you the full kit and everything along those lines. They've got great accessories for you. So go ahead and get the Bitbox 2. Get the Bitcoin only edition. That's what I suggest, because Bitcoin only is the way. And we're potentially seeing this super cycle here, folks. So you want to get your Bitcoin. You want to get it stored stored properly, because look at these forecasts that these guys are putting out here, right? This is Dennis Porter, what we're seeing here. Bitcoin decoupled to Mars. We are leaving liquidity cycles and it will be monetized as the source of liquidity. LOL. I don't think that's funny, man. I think that that's what we're going to be seeing here. We've got David in the chat saying he's 64 years old and he just reached 1,175 shares of FBTC, which equals 1.06 Bitcoin. Congratulations, David. But what you need to do, man, is you need to get that off a ETF. You need to get it in cold storage and set that up yourself. Congratulations. We got a full coiner in the house. So I appreciate that, man. Congratulations. Keep on stacking. Keep doing that. Stack in any way possible, but I prefer self-custody because you don't want to have any counterparty risk, especially with what we potentially got going on here. Well, on the meantime, as McLovin is saying, Bitcoin won't be a teenager for much longer time. Big boy pants soon. Okay, David, all right, you're fine. You've got it in a Roth. I get it, man. I get it. There we go. You got it in a Roth. Hey, tax friendly. And when we see Bitcoin at $1 million in 2 years, look, that's not my words. That's not the green candle hopium that I'm feeding you guys. This is what a peer-reviewed paper is saying to you. So look at all the writing on the wall here. These guys are saying it. Why are they saying it? Well, it's simple: supply and demand. Dennis Porter and others are around beating the pavement. These guys, look at these guys. Look at these studs here going from Congress and all these different places, banging the drum saying, hey, we need to get Bitcoin in different storage for places, whether it's, for strategic reserve, in the different, in the potential sovereign wealth fund for the United States. This is something that we need to do to save the dollar. Trump's doing all he can with the tariffs and everything else. But what we're seeing is, what is it? What does MOAS mean, McLovin? I don't know, man. Well, maybe I'm far behind, but you got to tell me in the chat what this means, man. Maybe I'm not on the internet enough. Maybe I need to be on the internet more. I don't know what this MOAS standing for. But maybe it means something along the lines of the super cycle. I wouldn't doubt it. Look, if there's ever going to be a time for a super cycle, it might be right around now. Mother of all supply shocks. Okay. Well, that's essentially what they're saying here, right? They're saying, hey, this is going to be because of supply and demand, right? Figure 11 shows the forecast prices, which demand multiplier, is held consistent, showing that the USD will reach 1 million prices by early 27, with the withdrawal level of 1,000 Bitcoin per day. Supply constraints come into play. With higher levels of withdrawal, the price could reach 2 million by late 27 and 5 million by early 2031. Look, like I said, not my words. This is the Satoshi Action Fund, who is seeing and outlining the potential of Bitcoin absolutely skyrocketing flight. Boo! Afternoon delight. Man, every time I say Bitcoin skyrocketing, that comes into my head. So I hope you guys enjoy my little reference there. But either way, they're saying institutions and nation states begin to accumulate Bitcoin on a scale never seen before. Under the model, liquid portion of Bitcoin supply is a focal point because a number of coins are verifiably lost forever, and many more are hodled by long-term hodlers unwilling to sell. The effective supply can be far smaller than aggregate issuance. Ugh. Which I completely agree. Bitcoin is not necessarily held or determined by the crazies of the Bitcoin mining world. The hash rate, or the amount of Bitcoin left, to be mined is less than 7% or 8%. And in my opinion, that 7-8% does not determine the entirety of the cycle, right? The entirety of this 100% market. In my opinion, we got to look at the business cycle. We got to look at economic factors. We got to look at the simple supply and demand, right? We're seeing Bitcoin supply and demand working as designed. BlackRock will buy your BTC for $1 million. I'm not selling though, never. Amen. David saying, is there not only 16.8 million Bitcoin available due to lost Bitcoin? Look, that number is unverifiable. We don't know if Satoshi actually has his, her, theirs. I don't know. We don't know if Satoshi actually has the keys. We don't know if Michael Saylor is actually going to end up selling. We don't know all of these things, right? We don't know how the future is going to play out. So it's hard to verify the complete amount, but 16.8, I've heard 18. McLovin saying maybe less. Who knows at this point? But either way, we do know that that 21 million mark, it's most likely less than that, right? Because we have the potential of lost keys. We have the potential of misplacement. We have Bitcoin seized by various countries and other things along those lines. So my man, All Nighter Hider, is not in the chat, but he always says, smoke the like Cheech and Chong. Do it so I can figure out how to fix this shutter thing because I have no idea what I'm doing on here on this camera. Hit the subscribe button, tell a friend to tell a friend. And when you hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification so you guys know when I go live, so you guys can win some sats from Bitcoin Well. And I appreciate you guys all tuning in with me on this Friday afternoon rip.